All right, so now we're recording. So welcome everybody to an event that is being sponsored by New York Institute of Technology, School of Management, as well as the Center for Teaching and Learning. So as you all know, ChatGPT and artificial intelligence is really making an impact now on on education and how we behave as teachers and what our students are doing. And I want to welcome the students who have come, who are here in person as well as on Zoom. How many did we say were on Zoom?
63.
63.
Great, so welcome everybody. New York Institute of Technology is known for reaching out and looking at new technologies and trying to understand how they have an impact on education and on our world, and for School of Management on the business environment. So with that, I actually asked ChatGPT to write an introduction, which I tweaked, so it's not a copy paste. I'm delighted to introduce Amir Gefen, an accomplished alumnus of New York Tech and a thought leader in the field of artificial intelligence and education. In his many professional roles, Amir has been at the forefront of harnessing AI to enhance the learning experience for students and professionals. Today, he will be sharing his expertise on ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. ChatGPT is a cutting-edge language model that has transformed the way we interact with machines. With his vast experience in AI research and development, Amir is uniquely positioned to offer his insights on the capabilities and potential of ChatGPT. And as a fellow New York Tech alum, we are especially proud to welcome Amir back to his alma mater to share his expertise and to inspire the next generation of tech leaders. I am confident that his talk will be informative and engaging, and I encourage everyone to tune in and participate in the discussion. So we will be collecting questions on the Zoom chat, and we'll ask them in person here. And if anybody has questions at the end of the presentation, you can also raise your hands and we'll have a discussion. So I'd like to welcome my friend Amir to the stage.
Good pleasure.
All right, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, thank you. Make sure we share this.
Right, can you do this as a screen share?
All right. Okay, so for the folks on Zoom, you can see it in the presentation mode. Excellent. Okay, wow. What a pleasure and excitement. You know, coming back here 28 years today, but who's counting? I'm, challenging. I see the students here. So think about yourself coming back here in 28 years from now. Okay. And I wonder what would be the topics then. Okay. I don't know. It would be inserted chips into who knows? This technology is growing so fast. I don't think that we can even hard to imagine how what would be your presentation on this stage in 28 years, but it will be, okay? One of you is going to be here, and I hope to come as well and hear that. So it's really work. I think also there's something very unique maybe in the DNA of New York Tech. And, my first role coming out of school as an intern, the year is 1995. And my first one was strange assignment. Not many people dealt with it. It was called electronic commerce. Okay, wow. It was like building a website where people can see merchandise. And maybe later on, at the beginning, it was just like an electronic brochure. Later on, it was even without the ordering capabilities. Back then in 95, but these were the days, okay? But in 28 years, and I started in e-commerce, and now I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence. And I think it's not by accident. I think that for you, the students who would graduate here, you would get the curiosity and the appetite to align yourself with the latest and most advanced technology that will come, that we still cannot predict. But it's something that you learn here to really look for that and be open for that. So, your careers are secure.
Go grab some lunch.
Enjoy.
Maybe to
Yes. There we go. Okay, really, it's when I looked and then went and looked for this photo, it was scanned. There was no digital cameras back then. Wow, it's crazy. Yeah, like I sound so old suddenly. But we had to think about any picture because it had to be developed and it cost a lot of money. It's not like today. But yeah, this is in the old Westbury campus. This is where the ceremony held. And yeah. Wow. So a few words about myself. So I'm working as a faculty myself in college in Israel. I'm teaching learning technologies, not just AI, across the board. I'm also serving as a consultant for the Israeli Ministry of Education, where I leading an artificial intelligence lab. This is in the R&D unit of the Ministry of Education. So, and I would share with you a few of the things that we are doing there in this R&D unit. I mentioned my Ph.D. research work, and I researched a very disturbing phenomenon, which is cyberbullying. So it has like a technological area, but this issue is way beyond just purely technology. It's very much related to education. But there's another thing. I'm going to discuss artificial intelligence, the most advanced technologies. And I know for sure that there are some hesitations and there are some concerns, and I would say valid concerns about what's going to happen, especially for young children. So I mentioned my PhD work to say I'm with you, not just holding the opportunities, but also looking on the complexities of this thing. And there are complexities, and we will not ignore them. As I said, we have responsibilities, especially in my Ministry of Education role. I mean, we need to protect our students' well-being, mental health. It's not just on the academic, especially post COVID. Okay, so we are looking on that. Now, in Israel, the latest data shows over 12 hours of screen time a day. It's crazy. In general, think of it. I mean, it's also for us, so it's not just the kids. If you deduct, 8, 7 hours of sleep, both of us, okay, we barely have 4, 5 hours where we are not looking on the screen. Okay, and this has an impact. Okay, our body was not designed for that. And we need to remember that. So coming out of college, I also worked many years in tech, especially in MDocs. Of course, the NYIT gave me, as I said, foundations to my entire career.
Ellie, can you unmute it?
No, you have to do it.
Oh, there it is.
It's unmuted now, it's fine. Yeah, you can.
It's the other one then. It's left.
So when we see such an image, and I wanted this to be, really a discussion, an engaging discussion. When you see this image, what are your thoughts? What are your feeling? What do you feel when looking on such an image? Who wants to share? What's your initial thoughts or feeling looking on such a picture? Yes.
Homeschooling would be changed, right? Homeschooling would be instead of a tutor, you just have a robot teaching you stuff, which would be probably controlled by AI.
So when you look on this situation of a robot teaching a child, are you comfortable with it? You see an opportunity, or you say no?
So it has to be a blend. I suppose it has to be a blend because schooling should be like intellectual collaborative experience. So kids should have other kids to play with so that they can build their aptitude. So definitely, it should be a blend. It shouldn't just be a robot teaching you, otherwise.
Great. And next to you, I'm sorry that I don't know the names. What's your name? Hi. You said that you looked at the picture, and what's your hesitations?
Well, I feel like it's kind of unusual because we humans does have to have an experience of a human interaction, which is really important.
Mm.
And when a child is there, so you have to be really protective. Like, you have to give a little bit more focus, which I feel like a robot can do.
Okay. Yes.
So I don't know whether this is limited to the current level of technology, but right now the robot would not have emotional intelligence, which is one essential ingredient of interacting with the child, either creativity or to respond to some creativity on the part of the child. So with the current level of technology, I think will be a limiting experience.
I would just add to that we are now, that the robots, in a way, we see a lot of technologies around. We talk about ChatGPT and AI. We talk about vision recognition, right? Image recognition, voice recognition. When we look on a robot is like a perfect packaging for those advanced technologies. So we can put into, what we call a robot, plenty of technologies now. In terms of what you mentioned, the ability of this robot, so of course it can present content. Okay, that's not new, like software and there, okay, software. These robots, and we are experimenting and working on those development. We want them to also be able to, detect body language, detect engagement, yes or no, detect whether the student is happy or sad. I mean, those are all things that, thanks to AI, thanks to artificial intelligence, we can now start and train artificial intelligence model to detect mental distress, to detect engagement, whether through the speech processing or through body language. So it's not mature yet, but this is where it's heading. It's one of the, for the students here, one of the most fascinating area of AI. It's not just about the prediction of grades, it's about feelings, okay? It's about Siri down the road. We will say, hi Amir, I see that you are angry or upset. Maybe I would give you some songs to cheer you up. It will recognize our emotions, okay? It's not just for education, for all the AI, because the promise of this AI, we see it today on Netflix, okay? They put so much energy from a technological standpoint to learn us and to try and provide us with a good recommendation of the next movie or the next TV series, according to all the analytics that it can do from our past viewing, from our friends, from whatever. But ultimately, they would like also to understand what's our mood, state of mind this morning, and then also to adjust the recommendation engine. Yeah, now it's not, it's all, these things can be trained. I can call Deb, right, tomorrow, let's say, on the phone, on the speakerphone, and we'll talk about something. And Deb can ask me, hi Amir, is everything okay? And I will ask her in this imaginary situation, why do you ask? And she would answer to me, and we're all familiar with it. I don't know, you don't sound well. Now, what happened from a computer standpoint? What happened in her mind? I mean, she compared my recording, she's hearing me on her speakerphone, to samples of sad people or happy people or nervous people or whatever. Now she doesn't necessarily need to know me from the past, but she has this library of examples of how sad people sounds. All of us. And when you get a sample, you compare and say, okay, and this is something that we can today, okay, not science fiction, today work on those artificial intelligence models. Yes.
But end of the day, what robot will do will be, based on some prior experiences. It's not going to create something on its own, correct? So like if for a student, if he's asking questions which is not there, if someone previously has asked, it will not be able to take care of that.
If I need to teach you, let's say that this robot is now teaching mathematics or whatever. If you are students in my class, when I design, and also faculty, when I design my class for today, there's like, 40 people here or so, or there. In a way, I would make my content appealing to most of you. I know for sure that I'm going to lose some of the kids that are slower, and I don't have the time or the ability to give them personal attention. I have here 20 or 30 or whatever students that I have in my class. So I need to design my content, to the best average. Also the people, the kids who are very bright and can move fast, also I cannot attend to their needs. However, the promise of artificial intelligence, the big promise of those robots in education is exactly that. It's personalization. It's serving this kid exactly what he needs, seeing his learning habits, see how he progresses, giving him exercises, and if this is too hard, going back and giving something more easier. Okay, something that it's like a private tutor where it's almost impossible to get such an experience in a public school classroom. Okay, now this is not to replace the teacher. During the time that this robot would work with one student. By the way, it can also, when we're experimenting, it can work with a group of 4 or 5. The teacher who is there, and the teacher will always be there. But it's a teaching assistant. Once this robot is taking control on some activity, the teacher can now go really and sit down with the kids who needs this personal support, or with a bunch of kids. And that's something that can really make a change. I mean, it's not, we are all aware, it's not just in Israel, we have such a shortage in teachers, okay, and in teaching assistants. So I think we have the obligation to at least try and see if it's working. Everything here, it's still in research, still in labs, and none of this is in large scale. But we need to try and to see whether this technology can help us. Yeah. So. And we are questioning, okay, those robots, and those robots can now see, not just see, really see, including body language, can hear, including understanding our speech. Now, this is something that happens already. Israeli tech firms from the customer service or the call center area, they are implementing software like nice systems, for example, that if someone is calling in Verizon or whatever, and then he's very upset and he wants to disconnect and whatever, and he's angry, or AT&T, there's an analytics in real time that flag this call to the supervisor to say, go now into line 4, there's a customer service call that goes south. So go and intervene. This is happening today, okay, in real time. So if we have already these technologies to identify nervousness, people who are upset, people who are whatever, okay, it's just an adaptation to understanding this child voice, if he really get it, the content, or understand. So we have the sight, the hearing. We would see it more and more. We would start seeing some vests, and those robots try to get as human as possible. This is when we said GPT, sometimes I call it Geppetto. Okay? And we all remember Pinocchio. And what Pinocchio dreamed, okay, this wood robot, his biggest dream is to become human. And this is what also robots wants to be as close as possible, okay, with their abilities. So we are experiments, okay? These things are actually coming from Israel, from the artificial intelligence lab. And there's so many research questions around those. Should we design those robots as, plastic and robotic, as we saw before? Or maybe we should humanize them to have them, okay? It's a big question. It influenced the entire interaction between the robot and the teacher, okay? And we are now also experiment avatars. And the way to experiment avatars is during Zoom sessions like we are now having. We're all familiar with it. Sometimes the teacher said, okay, now I would split you into teams of 4 or 5 into breakout rooms. And you will go now for 15 minutes, do some discussion, and then come back to the big room and share your thoughts. Now we know what happens many times. Once the kids or the students are on the breakout room, that's it. It's a coffee break. They do nothing.
Not our students.
Say, other students. Now, when we are inserting those avatars into a breakout room, this avatar starts immediately to facilitate the conversation. He knows who is there, and he's asking in his robotic voice the kids to say, okay, we got an assignment, we need to do this and this, what's your... And we wanted to research, will the kids, they know it's a robot, they know it's a robot, okay? And, you know, and these are initial findings that we see the kids collaborating and cooperating. He's asking questions, they are answering, and we, at the end of the 15 minutes, we see that the breakout rooms where we inserted an avatar to facilitate, you know, the discussion really came back with a much better outcome from those 15 minutes comparing to those who don't. So here, it's not a comparison between, to be clear, between an avatar to a teacher. It's a comparison between an avatar to no teacher at all, because this is what's happening in the other breakout rooms. And those guys are coming with better results. We cannot ignore, okay, the opportunity. Yes.
Amir, in the chat, somebody asked about the closed system. She said there's another way of gathering information. He asked if you had any comments.
You know, there's so many aspects, those robots, of the data,
Could you repeat the question?
of the privacy. Yes, that there's,
There's a technology called flow code, which he said the gentleman online says is an alternative in some ways to QR codes.
Yeah.
Which could collect data, which allows the robots to collect data, and he wanted you to comment.
you know, those robots, everything that happens, you know, these are video cameras, okay? Those are microphones. Everything is recorded. Everything is analyzed, okay? And it all goes through, we have various types of databases, not just flow code, but the functionality is always the same. It's all being recorded, stored, and analyzed, and provided back to the teacher, okay? What happened in the breakout room, okay? Or in a group meeting or in a one-on-one, okay? So yes, all of that is being collected, of course, and analyzed. And there's issues about privacy, okay? Who has access to this data? It's not just raw data, it's being analyzed, okay? And this robot can give an assessment about the grades and scores, and they see how the kids are replying, what's their answers, okay? And we get into revolutions now. We get closer to talk about AI and ChatGPT. And I wanted to talk about revolutions for a moment, because I'm sure that some in the room said, is this really a revolution? Or maybe just another hype, everyone is excited, all the media, okay, give it another 2 months, there will be something else. Is it for real? Is it really, are we talking here really on an edge of a revolution? So to get some perspective, I would share with you a few revolutions that we had in history already, because we know something about revolutions, and then I would ask, is this really, okay, a revolution? So, you know, scientific revolution, the move from into experimenting things and into doing science, and this goes back, you know, like hundreds of years. It was a revolution. And agriculture, the ability really to improve upon our agriculture. And of course, we all know the industrial revolution. In a way, some of our schooling system routes back there. I mean, you know, this place, this building where you have the classrooms, and you put all the kids in order, in uniform, same age, same curriculum, same timetable. This is very mechanical setup. Whether there's a question, is it still appealing? Or it's a big question on educational systems. I mean, does it needs to be, is it still relevant? Is it still effective? Okay, I'm not talking even about the content of unified curriculum. I'm just talking about the setup. Some kids are learning better on the afternoon, or some, this lack of flexibility. Everyone needs to be at the same time, in the same place, in the same unification. We know we are different. And I talked about personalization. It's like the opposite. And it's something that we need to, to keep in mind. And I'm especially looking on the young students. Go in and challenge everything, challenge the structure. Maybe kids needs to go and get together around the topic. And there could be several age levels. Maybe we should look on their understanding of the topic, regardless if it's a 8th grade or 9th grade. Let them study together if it's relevant and if they can understand. Okay, so maybe we can break some of those structure. And of course, digital revolution. Now, I would ask in a second, all this artificial intelligence is another evolution within the digital revolution. Or is it something new? We, making a jump here. Now, it's especially around GPT, it's very early to call. I mean, we are just 3 months into the event, but I say for the students, imagine yourself coming with an app or a web service that after 5 days, you already have 1 million users registered. Think about everyone here has an app that he wants to invent. So think about this app for a second that would collect 1 million users 5 days after you put it on the App Store or on the Google Play. And when you wait another 2.5 months, 100 million users. Okay. So now we cannot discount those facts. Something. I mean, we haven't experienced, for Facebook, I'm talking now to the faculty, the Facebook that we all have, it took like 10 months since launch to get to 1 million users, 10 months. 5 days. Okay, so the speed, the scale. So let's, what do you think? Is this artificial intelligence, the generative AI, evolution or evolution? Yes.
I had this conversation with my son who's 27, and some of my students know him, and he was arguing, how do you know this is transformative? And because I was trying to argue that it was, and I said to him, in 1993, most of the planet had no clue what the world would look like in 1998, 5 years later.
Yeah.
So
do you think it's really something that is going to change deeply the way we learn, we work? Or is it another tool or a gadget? What's your feeling around this?
I think it is a revolution. I think we will not recognize our world 5 years from now.
Wow.
I think it's a storm.
And you share this opinion that 5 years from now?
I think it's a storm. I think it's gonna be a boom, but then it's gonna.
There's always this hype cycle, that there's like lots of excitement, that we know the Gartner adoption models, maybe, but what the students are thinking, are we, now by the way, if you think that it's really a revolution now, instead of sitting here, go and buy some Microsoft stocks or OpenAI, okay? because your grandchildren will not forgive you. Really, that when this thing came up and you were busy hearing lectures instead of putting your savings into those stocks. Well, what do you think? Evolution, revolution?
I think it's in the stage of revolution right now, but 10 years from now, it might evolve to even something bigger. So,
What do you envision?
I envision like a very limiting experience actually. If you've seen Wall-E, I think everyone must have seen Wall-E.
Wall-E, yeah, the robot.
Yeah, and how the humans become, like they become obese and they become limited and they are just stuck in their chairs and everything is done by the tech and robots.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's headed. But I think it's a great step that the professors right now that we have are integrating it into our educational system. Like we have our marketing classes where the professors actually told us about ChatGPT and the uses of it and how to better it. I think that's what's important for the professors to make sure that, oh, we are including this in our system, but you have to be physical as well. So if that happens, then we have a slight amount of chance to not be limited just by the physical abilities. But otherwise, yeah, it's in the phases of revolution right now, and it might evolve to something bigger. Yeah, definitely.
Now think about the students, the open AI crappy side that we are now experiencing where it's down most of the time. These are just childhood hiccups. Very soon, not 5 years, very soon, it's all integrated into Word, into PowerPoint. Okay, we see here a presentation. Microsoft is not, it's not a charity that they put $10 billion or $1 billion they already put, and now they bring another 10 billion with the purpose, to integrate this into Office, into their product, into the Bing search engine. Maybe we are all in few months. I don't know. Would be interesting to know. Forgetting about Google. Who needs Google? You Google for something. You get those search results. Now it's very tiring to go through the results and to put together an answer. You need to integrate those 10 search results, maybe one of them. Now this is, you ask a question. Who cares about those different sources? You have a question. You want to get an answer. It's a totally different approach. And maybe this is what Microsoft was waiting for, to revenge. As we are sitting now here in this room, there's titans. There's war of cannot imagine. It's like a world war. They're very silent on keyboards. But if Microsoft can get ahead now with integrating OpenAI into their products, while Google's, is like struggling behind a little bit. Maybe they will overcome. We need to see. It's a dramatic event happening right now. If you would go to Seattle, or you go to Silicon Valley, I'm sure no one is going home. They're working 24/7. It's life or death right now. Because we don't have for the older ones, does any of us remember what search engine we used to use before we moved to Google? What was that? Netscape. Jeeves, Rask, Jeeves, right? Yahoo. We already proved that on a split of a second, we moved from whatever we used for years until Google came.
Because Google was able to, it was more advanced than the other ones. So people were bound to switch to it. What we offered, it was far better than what the other previous one was.
Yes. And now, when ChatGPT is going to be the engine the behind Bing, we will not go into this OpenAI and wait for it to
But the thing is, it is more interactive, so it will take time to accommodate what different people can think of. So I think so it will go on a steady phases. It will not be a revolution, it will be like an evolution. Because see, it's more on the question sort of a base, correct? So it's, the answers are particular, it's not a general thing, like on Google, if you type something, it's very general.
Mhm.
But whereas this is question specifics, so it will take time for them to accommodate the different combination that people, different things that they can think of.
Right.
So they will keep developing it over the phase.
Right.
So it will take some time for it to get to that level.
Could be. We need to see, 5 years from now, anyway, it's not about, we are concerned that the kids would do copy paste from open. No need for copy paste. It would be embedded in Word and it would have speech recognition, of course. So you would ask a question, what led to World War I or II? In the document. And then I say, okay, great. Now let's add some pictures there. It's of course connected to DALL-E 2. And you have your text with the images. A perfect paper. And I can say that in research that is happening now when teachers are getting, blind papers coming both from students and ChatGPT, and they need to grade them. The ChatGPT outputs are getting like on average 88, 89, 90 grades. Okay, we'll talk in a second, not 100, not 95 or 98. We would talk, it's interesting to see why is that? It's not, why when faculty and teachers are grading ChatGPT, they say it's a good answer, but it's not wow. It's okay. It's a good grade. Okay, 90, 89, it's a good grade. We cannot argue, but it's not those who thrive for excellence. ChatGPT would not get you there. You need something missing, still missing there. And why it is? Because all it is, it's a statistical machine. It looks on the data, huge data. Okay, when we ask about the reasons for World War I or whatever, there's massive amount of data. Yeah. So if you look on all this data, you can very quickly understand, well, what is the most common answer and elements into the reasons of World War I. And you would provide this answer, and it's a good answer. And it's worth 90, a scale of 100. It's a good, but this is all it is. Now, it is now riding on GPT 3.5, and we are heading into GPT-4, which is like 500 better. Better means more data sources. The more data you have, but the answers, goes really into the most common answers. It's not looking to do. It's a statistical machine, and it wants to give you the answer which is most accepted and most common over the internet. Okay, so it's interesting. And why now? Exactly that. Turing, Alan Turing, Enigma. Okay, why now? Because we reached the point. Why we are all in this room and all the excitement. We are at the point where really teachers cannot tell. What was the Turing? He left us with the Turing test. When we as faculty are sitting here and we get, a paper from a student and a paper from GPT or Brad or whatever, we cannot tell anymore. Who is who? Who is who? What came from a human being and what came from a, you cannot tell. They are both good, okay, at the level of 90. And this is a distraction. Okay, this is really, we cannot ignore the advancement that we are now at. Being at reaching the Turing test. achieving the Turing test. Those machines are so good that human being can no longer tell if it's a human creation or a digital creation. Okay, and yes,
Okay, from the chat again. Dr. Tibuwala asks, does it evaluate the quality of data or does it just rely on the?
it's
you mind
like it's very
repeating the
similar
question?
to the.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Colleen, yeah, it's Dr. Raj. He says, does it evaluate the quality of the data or does it just rely on frequency?
More the frequency. No, you can write a bright paper with some very innovative, thoughts. It's like always when people are brilliant. Many times, in order to be brilliant, you need to be a little bit off, the herd. Okay, you need to bring something, a different voice. At the beginning, they will, go back to history. They will dismiss you, so you know nothing. Everyone is thinking here, how come? So the GPT, the machine would go with, with the most common. And because if there's one brilliant piece, it's not getting, it will exclude it from its answer. However, okay, it's a statistical model. When we would ask a question where the sun is rising, and it's always rising on the. Now, if suddenly all humankind would decide to trick ChatGPT, and we would start writing that the sun is coming from. This is what will be the answer. There's no judgment here. It's a statistical machine. It looks on the common knowledge and serves on a very good assumption that if you look on all the vast majority of the internet, you cannot go wrong and look for the most common answer.
There's a follow-up question from a different person that says, does that mean if data is all misinformation, the input to the robot is garbage?
The misinformation or the, it's an interesting question, the fake news, let's say. If it's being repeated and repeated and repeated and then shared from a machine perspective, starts getting on the radar. Doesn't know, but if there's a piece of fake news and millions of people are rewriting and sharing this fake news, this can confuse such a machine. It doesn't have, there was this guy from Google that says that it has this, it's of self-critic. I don't care what all the people said, I know this. No, this is not how machines are programmed to give this answer. They do a survey, they see what most of the people are thinking. That's the truth. Okay.
So if you repeat a lie.
If you repeat a lie enough times, exactly. So it's dangerous also. Yes. It's in statistics. You want to say that it goes into philosophic. If all the people now think that the sun is going from the west, so GPT would say, okay, this is, I'm looking on millions and billions of articles and statements. So I guess doesn't know. It's not a human.
So the big assumption
But
here is
it's very hard to divert the entire humankind to an error that everyone would adopt and share and accept. And if it happens, so maybe it's very philosophical. Maybe now it's the truth. If everyone believes in you, okay, or 90% of the people said this is. Okay,
the reason why it's working is an assumption that most of the human beings or the data there is correct.
It's on the assumption that if you look on, 90% of, if you would ask 1 + 1, and then 99% of answers available is 2, then it's 2. Okay.
So basically, it's the honesty of the human being who's actually putting the data in there ultimately that data
Yeah.
is being put in there by.
We put the data there.
What if it was 50-50?
Yeah.
What if it was
Not
like
50%.
50% and 50%? Can it take the stand
That's how the society will give you.
Both the views.
in between? Like,
What do you mean, understanding between?
what if it is like 50% and 50%?
Sorry.
50% yes, 50%.
50% yes and 50% no? It will take the stand.
This is where you would find confusions, also in areas where there's not good amount of knowledge. This is why this machine is hungry for more and more and more data. It knows that, with GPT 3.5, maybe, but if I would bring GPT 4 now and enlarge the amount of data by multiple, like 500, I can get to an answer. And if it's really, we would ask them questions where it's really cannot tell it, it would say that there's opinions to here, there's opinion to that, because, on some questions where it would not take a stand. It would say, okay, on this topic, there's a lot of people who are thinking right, and there's a lot of people who are thinking left, and you need to decide.
It will give you both the point of views, correct? It will give you both the point of views, maybe,
Yes, it would give you both of them.
because they are not the one who's deciding what's correct.
Exactly. But if it's 99%, it has this certainty. Okay, so what is this good things? Okay, OpenAI put on this logo. I mean, it's relatively new. Maybe this is like the next Google logo. We need to get used to it. San Francisco startup, okay, in 1995, not that many years ago. Cannot find something brilliant without relating it to Elon Musk, really, this guy, with Tesla and SpaceX and this and that. So he's also there, one of the founders. He's no longer on the management team, on the board, because they had this conflict of interest with the Tesla self-driving cars, but he's there. Now also you can see his footprint in initiating OpenAI, because at the beginning it was very hard to tell. Is it a .org? Is it like or is it a .com gig? Sometimes they look like we are here for humanity and whatever. But those guys knows to make Microsoft is not a .org. So if they are putting their billions of dollars into that, they would get the exclusivity based on the OpenAI engine to integrate that into their Office products. We will not see ChatGPT on Google Docs. Okay, they would need to bring their own. Okay, or maybe on any other. They are investing those billions to get ahead and to get exclusivity on this API, on this technology. And this is, we will not need to wait 5 years. It would be in Teams, in Word, in PowerPoint, embedded there.
From a cash generation point of view, what's the difference between Google's cash generating model, business model, and ChatGPT?
ChatGPT would sell the API. Okay, I don't think
What are
that
we trying to collect to monetize?
they will monetize if you are creating any type of chatbot. They would say, okay, connect it to ChatGPT and pay us royalties.
Where does Google take me if I ask Google a question? To the source or give an answer?
Currently, Google approach as a search engine is really to give you the first page of Google search results are the most common or the most popular websites that relates to the question that you ask. So this is why, for example,
Are those advertising driven?
of course, I mean, and then every time that you
How do
search
we
for
ascertain
something,
truth then?
what?
How do we ascertain truth?
So on Google, they say this is a sponsored link and they need to disclose that, the search results.
Truth is market driven.
But true, but they say these are the sponsor link. The entire business model of Google is when you search for something, there's always a commercial entity
We're trying to influence individuals' decisions.
that they wants to do that. Now, I would like to take upon your question and say something. I think we got here, if you remember the history of the internet, at the beginning, they tried to take money for content. And we didn't like it. And we got used to the fact that it's free. Facebook is free, Google is free, Instagram is free. Now, of course, that we know it's not free. They are selling our data, they are monetizing on our profiles.
It's a very serious.
If it's what we call it,
issue,
if
yeah.
it's free, we are the
Data
product.
collected about my life
Exactly.
is my life
Now,
and it's being monetized.
maybe, exactly. Now, maybe there's an opportunity, again, it's a philosophical thought to say, we are willing to pay for those things. We don't don't go and monetize and sell our profiles and searches like, Facebook and Google are doing. Maybe if we will be willing, I don't know, it would be hard. If we will be willing to pay for those things, maybe we can create a different business model for those companies. If we are unwilling to pay for that, what other choice that they have other than selling our
The
profiles?
different business models are being tested in Ukraine and Russia.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so the Microsoft versus Google, really titans now. ChatGPT. Okay, Chat. I want to be Elon Musk to come up with such a brilliant product. I mean, none of you, I guess, with your own startups would not call your product ChatGPT. You break your teeth just to, I mean, what copywriter they've been in, what marketing gurus they were. But, Elon Musk, like Elon Musk, that's the name of the technology. But every word here is meaningful. It's not just GPT. I mean, it's acronyms. First is chat. Okay, now this is changing human-machine interface. When we go on Google, use this example, and we say the reasons for the breakout of World War I. We get search results, Wikipedia, World War I, this, that, article, whatever. When we go on ChatGPT, we need to start changing our interaction approach. In a way, it's a bit creepy. It's like if you want to get good results from ChatGPT, think of it as a friend, as your teacher, as your professor. Now, if you are calling up on me and say, what are the reasons for the breakout? I'll say, I can help you with it, but give me some context. I mean, it will be very helpful if you would tell me, I'm a teacher for the grade level, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, and I'm preparing this, paper, presentation. It's a check, give me context. When we are asking each other questions, of course, it's always easier. We get better answers when we give the person that we consult with, what is the context? What is our goal? What is the purpose of the information that we are going to be receiving? What we are going to do with them? And it helping us to guide and consult people who are asking for our advice, not just out of the blue. Give me, why do you ask? What's your need? Okay? And this is happening now. If it's a check. So we need, in order to get, not because if we want to get better answers from ChatGPT and test me later on, give him or give her, I don't know, is this it's not a human being, but it's confusing. We said give him, give her, what, like it's a machine, okay? I don't want I need to remind myself and everyone here, it's a statistical machine, okay? But now after we said this, when we were giving him context, we would get better answer. It would be more specific and just a better answer. And it's not something that we used to do with Google. Google doesn't care why you are asking about World War I. Who cares if you are a professor? Content. Now it's meta. Now it's different. It's a discussion. Maybe we can argue that it's more natural. This is how we, talk to each other. How am I with the time? Oh, good. So chat, okay? Now generative, that's another. You ask the ChatGPT to write a poem to my wife's birthday. Also give context. She likes this, she likes that. It would not just give me a poem. I can write a poem to your wife, but if I know a few things about her, okay, same example, I can give you something which is more relevant to her, as if you were going to a professional poem writer. So same thing here. And it will generate the poem. That's an original poem. Okay? There's none of this poem exists on the internet. It was generated on the spot, fully original, just for you. And if other people would have, there would no be two identical poems. It will always be different. Even if you would try that, ask for a poem, then, I don't know, 2 days later, ask for the same thing, same poem. There could be some changes. There's this saying, you cannot go to the same river twice. So of course you cannot go to the same internet twice. It's changing. It's changing, it's learning. And there's always, it will not be, totally different, but there will be tweaks. There will be changes. And when we get into academics, there were some software developed to detect cheating in works and exam, this would come clean. ChatGPT outputs in the current, it's an original, it's not a copy paste. It took some knowledge and it, assembled an answer, which is an original answer. Okay. The pre-trained. If we will go, it's not magic, okay? If we will go to ChatGPT and ask, give me a recipe for a Molotov pattern or to make a bomb. It will say, no, I'm not giving that, it's illegal, it's terror, whatever, you should not be asking or whatever. I mean, it will refuse. Just as an example, it's not happening. Someone was needing to pre-train this model to give it some guidance. Okay, it's not happening by why it's not giving us everything that we're asking, and we can think about, God forbid, a youth asking, very bad stuff. It will not cooperate. It's a pre-trained and they pay a lot of money. And, there were already some media mentioning that they went to Nigeria and pay, very little for, people to do some tagging and to do some training on the model. But also, our brain is pre-trained. As I go back to the example, how Laura knows when she hears someone who is sad, because our, brain is pre-trained how a sad person sounds like, okay? And we know the transformer goes to the language model, and in the sake of time, we will not get into too much now technical details. Opportunities. Okay, so think about automation. Think about productivity. I'm saying it to the students. Don't be surprised. Finishing school and going to work, whatever is it you're doing, journalist, this, that. And you get an assignment from your boss, and he asks you, how many days do you think you need? And you say, I don't know, I need to do this paper or whatever. And you would say, I need 1 week. And don't be surprised if down the road they would say, and if you were using ChatGPT, can this be helpful? Can it shorten? Can you deliver what you need to deliver instead of 1 week in 4 days? Okay? And it can do that. Okay? It really can increase, our productivity and shorten our delivery time. And it really helping us actually with heavy lifting. If we need to write now a paper, again on World War I, it can save us so much time. Bringing us to the level of, 88, 89, 90. But maybe we want to do better than that. If we want to do better than that, we need to improve upon it. We need to read it, we need to check it, we need to verify, and now we are starting to get into how we as faculties or teachers needs to work with those tools, okay? But certainly automation, decision making, better and faster, medical records, just, the amount of just instantly taking all the information on the internet and helping us to make better and faster decision. And there's a change with the chat about this is changing the man-machine interface. It's actually bringing, let's go back to the robot. We're starting to talk, okay, to the machines.
Don't you think after a while it would stifle innovation?
Let's talk about innovation for a moment, yeah. Let's talk about innovation.
Because you're always building, but you're not.
This guy is the innovator. He's this brilliant guy, usually very lonely, okay? First, everyone is going here. If you want to know where ChatGPT is located, right here, in the middle, of the middle, okay, statistical model wants to be this person, never this one, never this one. Now, when we think about brilliant, when we think about extreme creativity, this is not ChatGPT. It will never be there. It's not in his or her DNA. But this is many times, this is where brilliant things and creative things are happening. But that's okay. It's a good tool. It gets you to 90. Okay. But it has this limitation. Okay. So we need to breathe. There's no need to panic. Okay. It's not like the end of the world. Just the technology, just a very smart statistical model. So we just said, is it the end of learning and creativity? Certainly not. It's giving us, a very good starting point. Very good starting point. But now, it's not about, I hope, maybe I'm naive. It's not about to say, okay, that's enough. 90 is enough. I will copy paste, put my name, go to Starbucks. No, not in New York Tech. You would get GPT answers and say, okay, how do I polish that? How do I improve upon it? How do I do something extra? I'm not here to do, hopefully, copy paste. Should we change as educators? And that there's a different access to knowledge. If we are establishing our teaching authority just on providing knowledge, it's the human touch. It's the cultivating curiosity. It's helping kids to learn how to learn. It's not about to keep them motivated to learn whatever is of interest to them and how to use the tools. Okay, I would say not only that we are not in a battle with this, we need to teach. And in Israel, we are doing it. We are teaching students because they would meet it. Because what's one of the purposes of the educational system to prepare you to your job, to your working life. And if this is a tool that's going to be required by your managers, we need to train you in school how to use it. And we need to train the teachers, of course, first, how to use it. Okay? It's interesting. Look, it's like an old new pedagogy. It's the importance of asking questions. It's a comeback. Maybe few months or whatever down the road as teachers or as kids would be providing homework and they would get grades not on the answer which came from the question. How good they phrase, how smart, how effective. And there's going to be courses in NYIT, not down the road, not in 5 years. There will be a prompt engineering course. How to effectively use those machines to get, the right answer. So the approach that, I think, starts with humans like a sandwich. Then there's this engine GPT. Okay, we ask the question, the machine do all the processing, give us an answer, but we need to evaluate. We need to improve upon. And if we are taking this sandwich approach, I think we can also make sure that there's some good learning, not just copy paste of stuff. We are, okay, so we as educators needs to develop this approach. Are we asking the question? And let's do some training there and some guidance there. Okay, now the machine is working. Got an output. What we are doing with it? How do we verify? How do we improve upon? What's our personal opinion around it? Okay. So now we have a model here. Okay, so initial thoughts, and I would open it to, if you are using it for the students. Okay, first of all, give credit. It's not a cheating. Okay, it said, in this answer, it was, I got help from ChatGPT. Now, it would be important for your teachers, for your faculty to know, what did you ask? Okay? And maybe you will get to motivate the students to do this, give them grade on good questions. Now, how did you verify? Okay, you ask what was the reason for blah. Maybe there's mistakes there. What did you do to make sure that this copy paste is really accurate? Go and cross-reference this with Google Scholar or whatever. We need Google to stay alive. All our photos and emails. We don't want them go out of business. I mean, think of it. All our pictures and then emails and contacts with Google, it's a mess. If we will go out of this lecture hall and Google say we went out of business, it's a crisis. It's a crisis. Okay? We can keep them alive. Okay? And always, what do you think? give some reflection, give some, okay, comments. We cannot, of course, finish this lecture. We're in New York. Okay, there's an elephant in the room. Big. What do you think? Do you agree? I mean, was this a good move, smart move, or a panic move? Let me hear you. I mean,
They're still gonna use it.
what?
They're still gonna use it.
Of course. I mean, the fact that it's blocked on my school computer, I have it on my phone, I have it at home. But what I want to hear is there someone in the room saying, no, it's a good move. We need to block it. There's risks. We need to evaluate and then decide, or do you anonymously think it's not a smart move? Yes.
I think that it makes sense that's banned in public schools. What it doesn't make sense is to stop students from using it outside of school. So for the New York public system to say kids shouldn't have access to this information, misinformation, to me, that seems right.
Okay. So you said this decision was on the thing that there was a concern that the information there is misinformation. And what I said, it's a statistical information, so it's not actually going to the extreme. It goes to the middle of the middle. So
There's a better chance for it to be
the
correct.
chance of fake news is not, it could happen, but it's not large. Yes.
Better chance for it to be correct than the student looking up himself and finding information statistically.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just think you need a lot of training for the people around because you don't know anything yet. Like we just learned
Right.
about it. So that needs to happen sooner rather than.
Sure, and also in Israel, we don't. It's a new technology, so we are learning it. We are breathing. We are not panicking around it. It's not like drugs or human trafficking or porn site or whatever that we need to. No, these are sites, no question about. We need to block. It's good, but it's a search engine that kids can get access on their phones and get. Of course, access at home. Yes.
Amir, this is from the chat again. Robert Tedesco asks, how is it different from using Google, searching for information, and maybe you get good information, or maybe you get bad information?
And I would say how this is different than going to your older brother and say, can you do this homework for me? And I would wash your car. Whatever. I mean, if a child want to cheat on his homework, they will. They will cheat on their homework. Okay. In my opinion, yes.
I think the New York public school system, they don't have a way to evaluate the students. This is like when the student writes something, it's a way to actually tell what the student's knowledge level is, and now they cannot. This makes it so much easier to copy and to use a different sort of information.
Yeah.
They're not, and it's not fair to students who are actually doing work.
True. It's a 90 now. The challenge is not blocking it. The challenge now is to say, how do I give homework that if all your homework was based on copy paste from GPT, you will not get a good grade because I don't see there how you cross-reference. I don't see there how did you, what is something that you brought from your own, okay? So remember the sandwich, what did you ask? And again, it starts with the human and it's finishing with the human. So I think the challenge is, banning it, it's first of all, it's not effective. Second of all, I think, yes, it's a new tool. It's a disruptive tool. It's here and probably it's here to stay. So we need to redesign as faculty our assignments and requirements so that we can still grade students who put some sweat into their homework and not just did.
This one's from me, not from
Yeah.
the chat. There is an access to resources issue. So for the public school system in New York City, some of the neighborhoods really don't have a lot of resources, and some of them are really well resourced. So if we ban it, then we're sort of treating everybody equally. If we don't do that, then the people who have access to more computers, more resources, are in a better position possibly than those who don't have a computer, a cell phone, a tablet, and have to do that. So my concern isn't actually the information, it's access, it's giving everybody equal access to it.
Even if we ban it, the ones who have more access still
Still
have,
good.
they will get, they will get them. Okay, so it's it's really, I can say, to me, it's a very extreme move. And with that, I want to, thank you for your time. Pleasure of being here, and let's take one or two questions, and in NYIT, we are finishing on time. Yes,
Do you use ChatGPT?
all the time.
What was your favorite thing that you did with it?
For my work assignments, it's constant when it's available. It's constantly open on my and when I'm for example preparing a syllabus for a new course. So I have those ideas. I'm writing it to myself. Then I go to ChatGPT and say, okay, and I give him context. I'm a faculty person. I'm doing a syllabus now for a new course on this and that. What are the topics that you recommend to include in the syllabus? And I compare. And sometimes it does bring something and say, wow, brilliant. I haven't thought about it. So it's an amazing tool. Yes.
Is it available in your country or you use a VPN?
No, it's
Because it says
it's
only
available.
available in USA.
It's available, but we have the advantage in Israel when we wake up in the morning, we are still sleeping and not occupying.
So what about the GPT plus, ChatGPT plus, has it been offered?
It's we all registered. Some people already have it, but actually we are waiting it to come into Word and PowerPoint. I mean, it's not a good interface right now. Yes.
How does it do with Hebrew? Does it give answers in Hebrew?
In Hebrew, this is why we keep Google in business. The native language is, we use Google Translate because it's not that good yet in Hebrew. So we use Google Translate, writing in Hebrew, translate to English, go to GPT, and then back. And I'm sure there's also other nationalities who are doing exactly that. Still, for their credit, Google is offering a much better translation machine than ChatGPT. So thank you for that. I will still be here. I don't want to keep more of your time. As we said, we are finishing in NYIT on time. So thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
If you guys could all just take the link when you get a chance and fill out the feedback survey, it would be really helpful.
And if there's any undergraduate school management students who need their PE point, you can see me and I will make sure that happens.
Thank you for everyone online. Share. Could we end the session? Thank you. Bye.